And welcome back. This segment of our program is brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. It is mosquito season. That means it's time for Southeast Termite and Pest Control to come and help you with their mosquito control services. The great thing about this, if you're sitting there thinking, well, if I take care of my yard but my neighbors don't, those mosquitoes will just fly over here. They don't. That doesn't work that way. So you'll be protecting yourselves, and your neighbors can just be eat up with their own mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are very territorial, so they're not gonna climb fences and come over to your zone. Plus, their services do a great job. They won't guarantee that they'll take away every single mosquito because no one makes that guarantee. But trust me, you're not going to get carried away and bitten up if you have them come out there and do this service. Not only does it take care of the biting adults, kills off the larvae too. And if you're like me, there's nothing more fun than killing off larvae. Southeast Termite and Pest Control, southeasttermite.com to learn more. Okay. Tennessee's defense has been undermanned all spring, transfers, injuries, and then you throw in the fact that Josh Heupel's offense is known to put up crazy numbers against all kinds of teams. Was the defense as bad as it looked at times yesterday? I mean, Elijah Simmons, Aubrey Solomon, Greg Emerson, Byron Young, Darrell Middleton, Latrell Bumpus, Jeremy Banks, Roman Harrison, all out yesterday. Okay, so was the defense as bad as it looked? Vince, you touched on a couple of comments, stats in that last segment when the mic wasn't working. It hit me very quickly on first-team defense and what they did compared to the other defenses.
Yeah, first-team defense was on the field for 7 drives, mostly going up against the second-team offense, except for the very last drive where the only time they did ones-on-ones in the game. And the first-team defense only gave up 2 touchdowns, and that was in the final 2 drives, one of them against that first-team offense. So gave up a field goal, had end to half, and then punts otherwise. So I think that's where you could look at the first-team defense and say that's a little bit different than what we saw from everybody else, because the second unit was out there 6 times, and they gave up touchdowns on almost every drive except for one. So
800 yards total offense yesterday, 820, and then how many? 10 touchdowns on 17 drives?
10 touchdowns on 17 drives.
Okay, and the first team defense only gave up 2 of those.
Yeah.
Okay. And just on the side note of that, the Harrison Bailey thing, he went up against the third team defense every time but once?
Well, no, he only went up against the first team defense one time.
First team, yeah. But he was against second and third the rest of the time.
Because he was in the third team one time, and then he was on the first team a couple times, first team offense, but they were going up against the 2s on defense.
Yes, okay. So they did go against 2s at least. But that's what we're getting back to with, you watch that one scrimmage and say, Bailey's the guy. Well, he didn't really go much against the first team defense. Right. So you have to play that in, especially when you consider all those guys that were out, even on the first team. So imagine the second and third team. All that said, guys, is this defense going to be as bad as it looked, or do you take the first team defense and their performance yesterday and you add in these guys and you say, okay, it may not be as bad as we thought? Where are you?
Not as bad as it was yesterday. I don't know that they're going to be great, but you have missing guys. You're not running a lot of exotic blitz packages. You're basically rushing 4 or 5 every time. They couldn't really get any pressure, so you have a bunch of comfortable quarterbacks. With all those missing guys, even though they were full strength in the secondary, I mean, they had a lot of time. You're asking a lot of your secondary to cover those guys. So
with a bunch of walk-ons.
Yeah, it's like I don't really know what you can take away from the defense. It was not a favorable situation for them in a million different ways. So, I don't know that you can say, well, you throw out yesterday, because I think they're probably not going to be a great unit when you just look at what they lost and all those things that are working against them. But as bad as yesterday, a lot of busts, not a lot of pressures, not a lot of the havoc plays that they'd like. Probably see more of those and less busts when they have the first team offense on the field come fall all the time. But, my expectations for the defense are still pretty modest.
Jimmy, if you don't look at the caveats and you just look at what you saw on the tape yesterday, you might be heading to the bunker and grabbing your cyanide pills in regards to the defense. Was it that bad, or what's your take on it? Do you look at it and say it's going to be that awful this fall, or no?
No, I'm not going to say it's going to be that awful this fall. I thought the defense was bad yesterday, but then in mitigating circumstances, we just talked about 7 or 8 guys on defense not there, and many of them will start or be in the rotation. So I thought the defense was bad, but what I saw, but I have to temper that a little bit with the fact that they were without so many players. I don't think the defense is going to be very good. I'm kind of in David's camp on that. And while the defensive front has enough people up there to where they ought to be decent, I just don't think Tennessee's going to be very good at linebacker at all. There was one time I looked out there and they were running a 4-1-6.
Yeah.
And so I think their concerns at linebacker, which to me is going to impact your run defense and your pass defense. And so that's why I think this defense is going to struggle this year, because I just don't think they're going to be very good at linebacker.
The other concern is you are this thin. Okay, now you got a lot of guys out, but it doesn't take long before you get into the walk-on stage. There's just not, you've had a lot of attrition. The problem is you're playing football. So you're going to have guys out. I don't know that it'd be a bad year if you've got all these guys out at once, but you don't have that. If there's not tons of depth in the spring, there's not going to be some wave of transfers of 15 guys that come in here above the walk-ons that can be your second string guys come fall. So when you start having guys go down, I'm afraid you're going to go straight from that first string to what you saw yesterday, which is a lot of deep backups and walk-ons.
And
Here's the thing, too, of the suspended players, there's no guarantee they're all coming back.
Right.
There's a chance a couple of them may not be back of the suspended players.
I just think, again, for fans, when the defense struggles early, I feel like there's going to be an instinct to be like, oh, this offense, it puts our defense in really bad positions and they're moving too fast and all that stuff. Okay, in somewhat, kind of. Blame the transfer portal. Like that, it's not going to. If the defense struggles next year, it's not going to be because of the offense. It's going to be because of the transfer portal, and not the existence of it. But just Tennessee has been hit. Like this is literally unprecedented in the history of the sport for one team to be drained this much. But you look at Henry To'oTo'o, Corvaris Crouch, all these guys. Key Lawrence would have helped you. They just do not have depth at all, and it's just DeAndre Johnson. There's so many guys that could have contributed that aren't here. The talent level is dropped. It just is.
And
Devon
even
Bennett's gone.
Yeah, Javon Bennett as well.
And even on the defensive line where you had bodies that are gone, it's not like you lost stars. So you didn't have these guys we're talking about. They will help. Elijah Simmons had by accounts, he's had a very good spring. Is he going to be an all-SEC kind of lineman? I don't know that I look at any of these guys and say all-SEC type lineman. Mm-hmm. So you've got issues. Vince, quickly, I'll let you wrap.
Yeah, I was just going to say Byron Young was maybe the most complimented defensive player, and we didn't see him yesterday. And that's obviously a position that can really help and make a difference in getting after the quarterback, and we didn't get a chance to see him.
No, I meant rap, R-A-P. I want to change it around. All right. When we come back, let's talk about the skill position players. We still got plenty more to come on this show as we wind our way through a breakdown of the orange and white game. Come on back on the Sports Source.